Welcome to the Backdoor Fantasy Sports Podcast with Russo and Jordy.
What's up, guys? It's Russo and Jordy with Backdoor Fantasy Sports, and football is officially here. It's game day. We made it. This is our fantasy football podcast, so if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you subscribe. Hit the notification bell because we're going to be covering fantasy football and player props all year long. And give us a like if you guys don't mind. On today's show, we're going to be covering our starts of the week for week one. And we're going to go over a little bit of news and a little preview for tonight's game. Before we get into all that, though, we want to tell you about all the insane stuff going on at Underdog right now. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, now's a great time. If you use code BACKDOOR or go through the link in the description of the video, they're going to give you a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash with your first deposit. Right now, on top of that free pick, they already are giving everybody Travis Kelce free pick for tonight's game. And we already have the no sweat token available. They're going to be dropping stuff all week. They have the vulture protection for the running backs tonight, vulture protection Wednesdays, which is if your running back gets vultured, in the red zone and the backup ends up getting the touchdown or the quarterback, they will basically give you protection on that play. So yeah, use code BACKDOOR and take advantage of all of that. And while I'm talking about it, we also work with another platform called Chalkboard. It's a daily fantasy platform. If you haven't tried Chalkboard yet, it's a lot of fun. They're the king of alt lines. So for NFL, they've got all sorts of great alt lines on just about every player. And they give you a higher multiplier if you take a higher line and a lower multiplier if you take a lower line. They have plays as low as $1. They're also going to give you a free pick and 100% deposit match up to $100 when you use code BACKDOOR. You can also just go through the link in the description of the video, but if it doesn't auto-populate the code BACKDOOR, make sure you put BACKDOOR in there, and they will hook you up with the 100% deposit match and a free pick. Actually, they've got one for the community right now, too. Today, Patrick Mahomes, 0.5 passing yards. I think he's going to hit that. Cool. So let's get into a little bit of news.
Let's do it.
All right. So there's not like a whole lot of news in the NFL today, so we're just going to kind of rip through it today. But we do have, looks like Dak Prescott, looks like they're getting a little bit closer to a deal. They're still saying that they haven't found like a sticking point yet where they're both fully in. So there's rumors that he's going to be testing free agency. We'll kind of see, but I don't think that we're in a situation where there's any risk with Dak. So it's kind of like, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but he's going to for sure play this year. It's not like anything crazy like that, like a holdout. Speaking of holdouts, though, Jamar Chase looks like they're getting closer to a deal. He was back at practice, which is a good sign for all the Jamar Chase owners. What was it? He's wanting to match Justin Jefferson's deal, right?
Yeah, he said he wants to match it or be a penny over it because they're best friends and he wants to have more money than him. So
yeah, I would want that like either way, even if I didn't know the guy. Like right. Just make me the highest paid.
Yeah. Sure.
Speaking of highest paid, the Broncos did make Patrick Surtain the highest paid cornerback ever, which is pretty sweet. What has he got? Like $77 million guaranteed, and I think it's a $96 million 4-year deal. Okay. I think he's totally worth it.
Oh yeah.
Dude's absolute lockdown cornerback. But yeah, what were you saying with Russell Wilson a second ago?
Yeah, he's got calf tightness, and they're saying he's going to be evaluated before the game. They're kind of just letting him rest. And it says he was limited at practice on Thursday. Yeah, I mean, maybe just keep an eye on that. It's been kind of a mess over there in Pittsburgh, with them trying to decide who's going to be the starter and whatnot. I know they named Russ the starter, but, that might change if he's hurt, so.
Yeah, if Russ is your starting quarterback, you've got bigger problems to figure out anyways.
That's absolutely true.
So, all right, let's just jump into our starts of the week then.
Let's do it.
So with our starts of the week, we're trying our best to not grab, guys that it's like CeeDee Lamb. You're obviously starting him no matter what. But there are some of these guys, we're not going to also go all the way down to just nothing but scrubs. So some of these guys, without them being absolutely elite, they'll make the list. But we're going to start with tight ends. So for me, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
No, go ahead. Shoot.
All right. So for me, I'm going to be going with Dalton Kincaid for my tight end start of the week. Obviously, we know how talented Kincaid is. We also have this situation where we don't know who's going to be the wide receiver one, or if there is going to be a wide receiver one, it could just be that they're spreading the ball out between like Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, and Curtis Samuel. I think that, this will be a good first week for us to see who looks like they're kind of sticking out. But are any of these guys going to be getting 75, 80% of snaps? I'm sure someone will eventually, but it'll be interesting to see how that rotation plays out. All that being said, I know one guy who's going to be getting a ton of snaps, and that's Dalton Kincaid. With the rapport he has with Josh Allen, I mean, I don't have to pitch this to you. Like, that Dalton Kincaid's probably going to be good this year. But the reason I like him this week is this matchup with the Cardinals. It should be a shootout. It's got a super high over/under, 48-point over/under, with the Bills favored by 6.5. And the matchup is pretty solid for both of these tight ends. Trey McBride and Dalton Kincaid. But Arizona has a history of being pretty bad against the tight end, and they're my favorite team. So our defense is kind of, it's getting better, but there's still a lot of holes in it. So I think this is going to be a shootout. It's out in Buffalo, and I think it's between the matchup, the high scoring over under. I'm feeling good about Dalton Kincaid having a great first week to the season. All right, Jordy, who you got?
Sweet. So for me, I've got Evan Engram. This might be kind of an obvious one, but maybe not. But I think Evan Ingram's got probably one of the better matchups of the week, and I just like his situation a lot. This is a guy I really wish I had in fantasy. But week one, they're going up against Miami. This is going to be a crazy game. We got an over-under on this game of 49. So, you're talking crazy over-under. It's going to be a lot of scoring, a lot of back and forthness. Two mediocre defenses kind of, going against each other as well. Miami's ranked 22nd in defense against tight ends. So he's got a lot of cushion here to play. He hasn't played against them yet. So, we're kind of going into a new matchup here, but honestly, like their wide receiver situation, I think the best wide receiver on that team is probably Brian Thomas. That's just speaking, we don't really know that yet, but Brian Thomas,
I think we know that.
he looked incredible at LSU. So it's like, I think he's definitely their best target, but I think honestly, the easiest target on the team is Evan Engram. So, this is a guy that I think is going to be top 3 in tight ends at the end of the year. Last year, he had 143 targets for 114 receptions. The dude went absolutely nuclear. So going into an easy matchup, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to go back to the weapon he knows is going to be out there for him. He fixed his hands, so he's a very good catcher now. He's not in that awkward situation with the Giants anymore either. I think there was a lot of pressure on him there. So the dude's just been balling out. So I think for me, that's just an easy one. I could see him getting a touchdown and maybe 5 or 6 receptions in my opinion. Maybe I'm way off on this one, but to me, that's my tight end of the week.
No, I love that play, especially against a team like Miami, who is going to put up points.
Yeah.
They're one of the most exciting offenses in the league, first of all, but they tend to come out and just want to make a statement in game one.
Right.
So this is a solid matchup for them, and I think the Jaguars are going to be playing catch up.
For sure.
So,
yeah, even in like a DraftKings lineup, I was I want Evan Engram in my lineup for sure. Like anything DraftKings wise, or best ball tournament, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, so let's move on to running backs.
Enjoy sports betting and daily fantasy? Well, Daily Grind is here to help you beat the books. They make premium DFS tools that do all the work for you, comparing lines across just about every platform, looking for discrepancies for you to take advantage of. Start off your research with their DFS Optimizer, a tool that finds all the best plays and rates them with their odds to hit indicator. Or if you'd rather have them make your entire slip for you, they have you covered with their AI slip generator. They'll even notify you when a new slip is available. Go to dgfantasy.com and use code BACKDOOR. They will give you 25% off your first subscription all the way up to a year if you want. That's dgfantasy.com, code BACKDOOR.
All right, so moving on to running backs. My running back start of the week is going to be Kenneth Walker, which if he's on your squad, you would think you're going to be starting him regardless. But actually, in our Discord, some of these teams in these smaller leagues, they're pretty stacked. And surprisingly, one of the guys in our Discord was asking if he should start Kenneth Walker or Jerome Ford. Shout out Guru. And I was like, bro, this is not a question, in my opinion. I'm starting. I told him like there's never a universe where I could just stomach putting Kenneth Walker on the bench for Jerome Ford. So that being said, that's even if he was in a bad matchup. But Kenneth Walker's got a great matchup this week, so I didn't really understand that at all. Going against Denver, if you guys remember last year, Denver was terrible. They're one of the worst rated defenses against running backs. On top of that, I just don't think that Denver's going to have it together to be that competitive in this game. So if the Seahawks end up getting a solid lead, I think that you're going to get a lot of use from Kenneth Walker just running the clock. Only a 41.5 over under. Well, I mean, that might even be a little high. Game line wise, this might be a good one to take the under on. But who knows? I mean, teams can pop off and get to 13, 20 each, pretty quickly. But I love this play, and everything that Ryan Grubb has been saying about Kenneth Walker, it sounds like he just wants him to be the lead back. He's been just praising him all off season, talking about how he wants his running backs catching the ball, and he sees Kenneth Walker as a workhorse. And I mean, we all know what Kenneth Walker's capable of if he stays healthy. He's just a big play machine. I love. I mean, I'm not that excited about the news and the coach speak because I'm a Zach Charbonnet owner and I don't have Kenneth Walker. But yeah, when you've got Ryan Grubb talking about like he wants Kenneth Walker catching passes, he's going to have the workload this week, and he's got a killer matchup. So I think he's going to pop off this week. So yeah. All right, Jordy, what do you got?
Sweet. Yeah. So for me, I've got Alvin Kamara. Yeah, this might be a little surprising, but honestly, I think he's got a great matchup here. Going into this matchup, he's going against a very mediocre, like probably the worst in the NFL when it comes to rushing, and that's the Carolina Panthers. This is always a fun matchup between the two. Same division. It's always a fun time. You got Kamara, who just absolutely lights this team up every time. The last year he played them, they played him twice, but he was actually out for the first game that they played him. He was out 3 games last year, and he still ended as the RB11 in full PPR. So the dude has still got it. You can't convince me he's anywhere close to being over the hill yet. Last year when he played them, he went for 13 points. But honestly, like their defense, they didn't really do anything too significant to beef that up. And they're still the 29th worst defense in rushing yards allowed. They're the 32nd worst defense in rushing touchdowns allowed. And receiving, they're the number 1 in receiving touchdowns allowed. So they're very tough against the pass. And they're number 1 in in the secondary. So they're not letting any air yards through. Like this secondary is very locked down for Carolina. That is like one thing they're very, very good at is against the pass. They're one of the hardest defenses to play against. So I think, Derek Carr is going to have a tough time, and I think they're going to go to the ground a lot with Alvin Kamara. So that's my consensus on what's going to go on. The over-under is a 41.5 over-under, so we got a pretty decent game ahead of us here. I mean, that's just, I think the matchup and the caliber of player that Kamara is, I mean, as soon as he came back from those 3 games last year, he missed the first 3 games. He starts in 21 points, 18 points, 29 points, 27 points. Like, the dude is just a killer still. So, in a, pretty mediocre offense, like, I think Chris Olave is going to get his. I think Rashid Shaheed's always, a threat, but that is a very tough secondary. So, I think Alvin Kamara is going to have the easiest matchup of the day in that game completely. So, Kamara is my guy that I would want to start over anyone this week for sure.
Yeah, man. And I mean, like, who's the RB2? Taysom Hill right now? It's like, which, I mean, for tight ends, like if Taysom Hill was consistent, for best ball, Taysom Hill is so fun to have on your roster.
Yeah.
because he's super athletic, but I think Taysom Hill will get some work because you've got Jamal Williams, who looked like a ghost last year. They had to literally like scheme up like a touchdown for him.
Yeah,
and
Kendre Miller's hurt, so
yeah, Kendre Miller's just been a ghost for a while now on IR. So I love the Kamara play and the pass catching. I don't know if I mentioned it at the top of the show, but our like rankings are for half point PPR. We play full point PPR in our dynasty league, but we know some of you guys play standard and whatnot. And a lot of you guys probably play half point. So we're kind of basing this off half point rankings, but yeah, I love Kamara. I think he's going to catch a lot of passes, and he wasn't too great last year just rushing the ball, but I mean, he's always been an elite pass catcher. So I think I like that play a lot. All right, so moving on to wide receivers, I'm going to be going with Cooper Kupp. This is just like a perfect week for Cooper Kupp to go nuts. We have a 50.5 over under for this game, so should be a high scoring game. Got two electric offenses. Lions favored by 3.5, and we've got Puka Nacua. He'll be fine to play, I'm sure. And even if he was at full health, I still love Cooper Kupp, especially on the front half of the season. Hopefully Kupp can stay healthy all year and keep just making his case to be a Hall of Famer someday. But I really love him this week and early in the season, in fact. But if we take a look at this matchup for Kupp, I know that the Lions have a solid defense. I'm not trying to make a case like it's just some smash matchup. But with their secondary and with the way this game is going to go, the game flow, it's just, I almost thought about going super deep on tight ends and throwing in Colby Parkinson, who I think is a good spot start this week. But yeah, I just think it's going to be heavy passing game. And yeah, we all know what Kupp's capable of. Decent matchup. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up going out and maybe he'll get a touchdown, but I could easily see him going for like 8 or 9 receptions for like, maybe knocking on the door of 100 yards because they just have too much that they have to pay attention to between Kyron Williams and now Blake Corum. We're going to see how they use Blake Corum in week 1, which is going to be a lot of fun. But they went and they paid Colby Parkinson, so they expect him to do a little bit. But then you also have Puka Nacua, Jordan Whittington, Demarcus Robinson. So they have a lot that they have to pay attention to. And Cooper Kupp is probably still, he's at least one of the best route runners in the game still. So I got him locked and loaded for week 1.
Yeah. I love it too. I think the disrespect to Cooper Kupp has been crazy this year. Like even seeing his ADP in a lot of these drafts has blown my mind and where he's going. Like I've seen him go 4-1 and like even lower than that, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so to get me started on mine, I'm going to be taking Mike Evans. This one, may seem easy to some of you guys, but like in our dynasty league, somehow I'm in a really good situation with my wide receivers. So, like my 2 starters going into this week are CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk. And in my flex, I was like contemplating Mike Evans and Nico Collins, and I went with Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans is going to just go nuclear in this first week. He did last year, week 1. He went pretty wild. But other than that, the dude is just like unstoppable. Like even at his age, 30 years old, the dude still was just an absolute machine last year. Like he ended the year as the 7th overall wide receiver in full PPR. Just absolutely crazy. 136 targets for 79 receptions, 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns. So I want every piece of Mike Evans in this game. He's going against the 32nd ranked defense in the secondary. 42.5 over under. I think him and Baker are just going to go crazy. Washington actually does have a decent front line, so I think Rachaad White, some people think that's a good matchup. I just don't know how Rachaad White's going to do against this new front. We'll see. I think Washington figured out a lot of things when it comes to their front 4, and they let some really good guys go, which was surprising, but I think they kind of made all the right decisions. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. There's a lot of hype around Jaden Daniels. I think that the game is going to be close, and I think it's going to be, a lot scrappier than people think. But I think Mike Evans is going to be a big part of their scoring. I could see him at least getting a touchdown. I'm thinking 6 reception range. So last year, anytime he was getting in that range, like you're talking about a dude who last year on 4 receptions put up 143 yards, a touchdown, and went for 29 fantasy points in full PPR. So it's like this guy has that nuclear potential, which is a very, minimal workload, you could say. But I think he's going to be heavily targeted. They just paid Baker. They just paid Mike. So I think they want that connection to stay, and it looks great. So that, for me, is my wide receiver that I'm like, after I looked into it and looked into the matchup and everything, I'm like, what am I thinking? Like, this isn't even close. Nico Collins is all this competition. You got Mike Evans, who is the competition. So I love the matchup, and that's the guy I'm going to be going with.
Yeah, man. I was definitely in the off season. I was definitely disrespecting Mike Evans as far as like where I had him ranked, and I've totally come back around. I think he's going to have another solid year. And this might be the best matchup he has all year. I think he's just going to be dunking on fools all day. Speaking of the Commanders, though, this is going to be an interesting an interesting debut for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles scheming up that defense against a rookie is kind of frightening, if you're a rookie. So if Jaden Daniels goes out there and shows out against the Bucs in week 1, I think fantasy owners are going to be getting a lot of clarity on whether or not they should have invested in him. It's kind of crazy too, because the expert consensus ranking, a lot of guys have Jaden Daniels as QB 10 ranked this year, even up against the Bucs. So I'm like, we'll see how it goes. That seems like a little rich for me, but the dude does have, he's an amazing prospect.
I think we both know one guy that's sipping that tea for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He's talking about his brother in our Dynasty League.
Yeah, he's all about Jaden Daniels, man. Every day I wake up, I got a new Jaden Daniels article in my messenger box.
It's not just Jaden Daniels. It's anyone that he trades for. It's like for a week we're just getting nothing but news clippings on how this dude's going to go nuclear. But anyways, all right. So speaking of quarterbacks, let's jump into quarterbacks real quick. My quarterback start of the week is going to be Jordan Love. Huge fan of Jordan Love. I thought he just looked amazing last year. And there really wasn't as much buzz around him. It's picked up the closer we get to the season, but what's not to love here? Like, no pun intended, but like when you think about LaFleur's offense, you've got everything. You've got a deep wide receiver core. You've got Josh Jacobs now, which we'll kind of see how that pans out. I think it's going to be a great year for Jacobs. He just needs to stay healthy. But what I'm trying to say is, like, this is an absolutely electric offense with an amazing young quarterback who can run the ball, who makes really good decisions. He can make off balance passes, and he's got a killer matchup in week 1 against Philly. Let's take a look at this over under real quick. We have another high scoring projected game, 49-point over under. Eagles favored by just 2 points, and it's close. That's just a -130 on the Eagles, winning this game on DraftKings. So we got another high scoring game. You also have Kellen Moore on the opposite side with a stacked offense. I think that the Eagles are going to be a much faster paced, much more pass heavy team. Man, this is just such a fun year for football. Like, I love when there's significant changes like that. Like Kellen Moore going to the Eagles, like, because you just can't wait to see what the new offense looks like. But I think this is going to be a high scoring game, and I think Jordan Love is going to eat in this game. But yeah, that's my start of the week. What do you got, bro?
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to see that. I'm the Saquon owner, so me being a Cowboys fan, knowing what Kellen Moore can draw up, I cannot wait to have a piece of that for sure. So I totally agree on Jordan Love, though. My God, the guy is so talented. He just absolutely reamed my Cowboys. last year. But
You say that about every team we bring up.
well, he did. I mean, it just,
I'm just
it
kidding.
happens. But this might be, like another obvious one, maybe not. But my start of the week for quarterback is going to be Tua. Tua, there's a lot of leagues actually that I know where people have Tua as like their QB2, or they got a guy they like a little bit more. But in our league we have 6-point touchdowns, so Tua has like that full Godzilla nuclear, like,
Not in our dynasty league though.
not, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're
We're not that goofy.
yeah, right. But even no matter what, I think this is still a good start. The dude has got so many weapons around him, and I think it's a great matchup. Going into this matchup, he is playing against Jacksonville, and it's that same game that I got Evan Engram in. 49 over under. I think it's going to be crazy. They've got Miami favored by 3.5 points, but he's going against the 26 rated passing defense. A lot of room there for him to just go off. 19th rated defense against the passing touchdowns, and 18th rated against passing completion percentage. So, I think it's a great matchup for him. He's just a guy, like I said, he's got too many weapons around him. I don't know the news on Waddle, if he's still not practicing or not, but
I think he's going to be good to go.
Okay, so yeah, that makes it even better. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you got Tyreek Hill, who's one of the best downfield, runners of all time, like always open. You got Waddle, who just eats up the middle of the field, and he has the over the top potential as well. You got, at tight end, they're okay. They got Geno Smith starting for him this year. It could,
Geno Smith?
Yeah. That's their
That's the name of the tight end.
Did I get it wrong? Johnny Smith?
Johnny. I was confused. I'm like, is there another dude named Geno Smith? Not the quarterback.
Sorry, Johnny Smith. I'm horrible with names. I didn't even bother to double check what the guy's actual name was, but Johnny Smith, that makes more sense. Yeah. Johnny Smith. So he could be better at tight end, but I think Johnny's definitely a capable guy. But now they're all in on Devon Achane, and it's just going to be a great year for them. I think they've got way too much talent. They got a coach who knows how to put the talent in the right spots. So this first game going against, one of the weaker rated defenses, I think Tua is just going to have one of those crazy 30, 40 point fantasy point games, in my opinion. So high over under. I think it's going to be a shootout between these two young quarterbacks. So that's my consensus on my quarterback play. But
yeah, man. And speaking of Achane, it's like that dude's a great pass catcher too. They're talking about lining him up at wide receiver. So Tua just has so many weapons that he doesn't even have to make, he's capable of making the deep pass, and he's got guys who can burn their defenders and get open, but he's also got all these guys who he can just throw little slants to, and then they just take it to the house, So I love that play too. All right, so that covers our starts of the week for week one. Let's talk a little bit about tonight's game. Speaking of tonight's game, Thursday Night Football, the Chiefs versus the Ravens. We already have our picks. We have 4 picks out. If you guys want to go check out that picks video, it's for Prize Picks and Underdog. And yeah, we'll attach that to the end of this video if you guys want to go check that out before game time. But yeah, man, excited for game one. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, let's look at the over under here. I think this is juicy too. Yeah, 47-point over under. The Chiefs favored by 3. Not really any particular news that we've got about tonight's game, but we are pretty excited. You can see, I don't want to tell you all the picks we made for Prize Picks. You guys got to go watch it, but I'm particularly excited to see how they use Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
Fastest combine ever, 4.21 combine time. So super speedy. Also, we Derrick Henry. If you had to guess, what do you think Derrick Henry's going to get done tonight? I know you think he's going to get a touchdown.
Yeah, I think he's going to go pretty ham. I think maybe he gets over 100 yards. I think they're going to really give him a lot of respect because they got good corners. So I think if they just cover Zay and they don't let anyone bust him over the top, I think they're going to really give the middle of the field and the front a lot of attention, because you can't let people like Mark Andrews and Derrick Henry just do whatever they want on you. If they do, and both of those guys are eating, they're going to have a long night, because then they're going to have to drop the defense back for Mark, and it's going to open up Zay. It's like their offense is built to be a top 5 offense, like the Ravens. Like, it is such a scary thing. Their RPO is probably the best in the league, in my opinion. Like, when it comes to the run pass option, who do you think is better? Like, Lamar is easily the best runner in the NFL when it comes to quarterbacks, and he just runs like a running back. Like, the dude is so talented when he gets in space. So it's like, now you got Derrick Henry, who just runs through people. He doesn't even bother to go around you. He's just going to go right through your chest. So it's a really fun thing. I think this game is just going to be too much fun. The NFL set up such a banger for the first game.
Absolutely, man. And you got Patrick Mahomes with like this sort of new look offense. Like we mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure we confirmed Hollywood Brown is out tonight, which is a bummer, because that would have been fun to see how the Ravens are going to cover all of these, pretty solid wide receivers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm leaning towards I'm leaning towards Pacheco getting in the end zone tonight as well.
Okay.
I know we got that. There's that demon on Prize Picks for a rushing receiving touchdown, but it's going to be interesting. I keep going back and forth with Derrick Henry. Like, I'm not going to be surprised if he's able to just eat, and he's going to be so hyped to be on his new team. He's finally on a team that has a legit chance at a ring.
Yeah.
But then I'm like,
I'm in more of the range. Like, I'd be surprised to see him get over 60 yards. Honestly, I think the Chiefs are going to pay him that much respect that it's like,
I'm thinking,
I think they're going to just like load the box and be like, okay, he's not going to be the one to just bust us up in the first game. So, that's my consensus. Maybe he just goes crazy and he has one of those like over 100-yard multiple touchdown games. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think the Chiefs are going to just look so flashy tonight, though. Like, I'm growing a disdain for the Chiefs. I'm like, I get why people hate dynasties. Like, I was all on that Patriots dynasty growing up. I loved that team. But now I'm like, there's something so arrogant about this Chiefs team. And I'm like, I hope to see them lose tonight. I have a lot of mad Chiefs fans, but yeah, I'm on Team Ravens tonight.
Yeah, man. We'll see how it all plays out. All the hype is that Patrick Mahomes is going to be returning to form. Like, he's never been bad, but just super pass heavy. It's just going to be so fun seeing what Andy Reid dials up
For sure.
with Worthy and like last year, Kelsey had like somewhat of a slow start. I think I don't totally remember, but I feel like he really kicked things up because they're potentially managing his workload a little bit as he gets older. Because the dude is is he like 30?
34.
34. Yeah. So he's probably still got a little bit of time. He seems healthy. He seemed fine last year.
Yeah, but his last year's season start was rough. He had 9 targets for 4 receptions and only 26 yards, but he did get a touchdown. But after that, man, he was just off to the races. 19, 12, 22, 24, 38. So he cleaned it up for sure. And then he ended the back half of his year was really shaky. So.
Oh, okay. So I had it reversed.
Right.
So yeah, maybe we'll see what they do to try to keep him healthy for the back half of the season. But we do have like potential scattered thunderstorms out there in Kansas City tonight. So if it ends up, if for some reason there's like a downpour or something, like we may see the running backs just go to.
If there's a downpour, you better get on your knees and pray to God, because Derrick Henry is just gonna be going crazy.
Yeah, man. We'll see how it goes. All I'm hoping for is that there's no rain delays. Yeah. That would be a real bummer on the first night.
I know.
But that's going to cover everything for today, guys. We really appreciate you tuning in, and definitely go check out that picks video. Make sure you subscribe if you have not yet, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Backdoor Fantasy Sports Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop us a comment. You can also find us on all platforms at Backdoor FS.